Hello, this is Dr. Emmanuel Toye Shobande. I am a strategic leadership expert, executive coach, and award-winning author. I want to welcome you to the Leadership Factory. This is a platform where we offer creative insight and solutions to businesses and leaders. Today, let's discuss the topic Leadership in January. Why readiness, not resolution, determines your year. You see, by the second week of January, the calendar may say new, but most leaders feel something far less pristine. Strategy announcements are being made, expectations declared, and the pressure to demonstrate early momentum is already thick in the air. However, beneath that confident language of kickoff meetings and vision statements, organizations are still carrying the emotional, operational, and relational strain of the previous year. January reviews this gap faster than leaders expect. From last week's episode of our video, we confronted the illusion of a fresh start, and we argued that 2026 will demand reckoning at the top. The response was very overwhelming, not because leaders enjoy reckoning, but because many leaders quietly recognize themselves in the description we gave in that video. So this week, our focus is to build on that realization. Once leaders accept that the new year does not reset unresolved issues, the critical questions becomes how leadership should behave in the fragile window between recognition and execution. January is not the month that defines strategy, it is the month that defines readiness. Leaders who treat it as a sprint often discover by the month of March that they have been running on unstable ground. Those who treat it as a stabilizing phase, however, create conditions where strategy can land effectively. This distinction is subtle but consequential. Organizational psychology consistently shows that people who resist change itself, they do not just resist it, they resist unmanaged transition. In January, transitions are everywhere. New priorities, new structures, new expectations, sometimes new leaders. What many executives underestimate is how cognitively and emotionally taxing this accumulation is for their teams. When leaders push aggressively for speed during this period, they often misread the resulting hesitation as a lack of commitment rather than a signal of overload. The most effective leaders understand that January amplifies anxiety because it amplifies performance. People feel watched, they feel evaluated, they sense that early missteps will be remembered. In this environment, leadership presence matters much more than leadership proclamation. How leaders listen, respond, and pace decisions in January sends a stronger signal than any strategic document. Readiness begins with listening, but not the ceremonial type. This is not about asking broad questions in town halls and nodding thoughtfully. That's all performative. It is about focused, intentional conversations that surface where people are uncertain, where decisions feel blocked, where the previous year left unresolved strain. Leaders who listen this way early prevent constant misalignment later. What is surfaced in January can still be shaped. What is ignored tends to harden. As listening reveals patterns, clarity becomes the next leadership responsibility. Many organizations enter the year with ambitious goals but vague decision architecture. People are unclear about who truly owns what, where authority ends, and how disagreements are resolved. This ambiguity slows execution far more than leaders realize. So in January, clarifying decision correctly is an act of respect. It reduces second guessing and restores momentum without pressure. Equally important is the discipline of closure. Unfinished commitments from the previous year create psychological depth. Teams remember what was promised, postponed, or quietly abandoned. When leaders fail to address these loose ends, trust erodes even if performance appears stable. Mature leaders use January to either close this commitment decisively or renegotiate them explicitly. See, silence is not benign, it is experienced as avoidance. As the month progresses, leaders must learn to relate and translate intent into rhythm. This is where stability is either established or lost. Clear cadence around priorities, check-ins, and standards allow people to focus their energy. Trust me, without it, teams remain vigilant rather than productive, constantly scanning for shifting expectations. Predictability, especially early in the year, is a powerful antidote to anxiety. Underlining all of this is psychological safety, not as a slogan, but as a leadership practice. January is when people test whether it is truly safe to speak up. A leader's reaction to bad news in this period travels fast and wide. Dismissiveness shuts down candor. Curiosity invites truth. Leaders who welcome reality early gain foresight, and those who dismiss it inherit surprise. For leaders listening to me, a few reflective questions are worth sitting and pondering on. Where might you be pushing for speed when readiness is still forming? What unresolved decisions from last year are you quietly shaping behavior right now? How safe is it truly for your team to tell you what is not working yet? These are not abstract questions, they are operational ones. The feedback from last week's video reveals something very important to us. Many leaders feel relieved when they are given permission to slow down in January, not out of complacency, but out of wisdom. They recognize that leadership is not about proving momentum, but about creating conditions for it. This is especially true for those leading complex transformation, system upgrades, or cross-cultural shift across geographies. As the month continues, the temptation will be to accelerate prematurely. Resist it. Use January to listen deeply, clarify ownership, close what remains unresolved, and establish a rhythm your people can trust. This is not a retreat from excellence. It is how excellence is made sustainable. Lead January as a stabilizing force. Choose readiness over resolution. Choose clarity over speed. If you do this well, the rest of the year will not require constant correction. Performance will follow because the system and the people within it are finally prepared to carry it. Leadership that gets January right does not just reduce anxiety, it earns credibility. And credibility, more than pressure, is what sustains excellence over time. Thank you for listening, and bye for now. See you next time.